So we're going to transition now, thinking about these historical issues and how they may impact things like identity development. Let's look at some identity development for gay men. So the first thing I want you to be mindful of is that really one becomes aware of their sexual orientation often when one feels an attraction, that pull, that little buzz, that little butterfly in the stomach. When a male sees another male and they recognize this is actually a sexual attraction, that is often the time where one begins to say, I might be gay. So it kind of awakens the awareness in gay men and begins some of the identity development here. It is certainly, identity development for gay men is impacted by a lot of different variables. We can talk about early family experiences, one's ethnicity, one's gender identity, historical events, age. Across the spectrum, we have all of these different cultural components that really, in many ways, can affect one's identity development. Okay. Coming out of the closet, so once again, I'm going to use that term that we talked about. Coming out of the closet is certainly a part of the process in one developing one's identity as a gay male. It is accepting, embracing, and outwardly embracing that I am a gay male. Now, living as a gay male and identifying as a gay male is actually very difficult. What can happen, I want you to imagine, I, as a Euro-American male, have the height of privilege in the American culture. I mean, we look at women's issues, we talk about ethnicity. I'm at the height of privilege here. So to actually reveal that I'm a gay male can cut much of that privilege, can take that away from me. So I can actually experience a significant loss of power and status by coming out. It certainly can create some inner turmoil and complications in life. You may have a lot of losses from coming out. You may have a lot of internal struggles from going through the process of accepting who you are. It can be downright dangerous. We're going to talk a little bit later on about how prejudice and discrimination can really show itself. People get killed. People get attacked. People get harmed. Coming out can be quite scary for gay men. Now, on the other side of that, what we do know is that coming out and that whole process of finding your authentic place of how out you need to be is really a process of building health, of growth, and integrating the parts of self. And it holds the potential for a better life, a new life, one where hope and faith can exist. In identity development, there are basically these models, and since we're doing an overview today, I'm just going to go briefly through the general flow of identity development for gay men. In the more extensive course, we would actually look at some of those models and talk about the different components here. So I want you to think about, once again, this is a process, and it's really, I call it a crescendo effect. For those of you who know music, you know what I'm talking about. Crescendo means things opening up and getting larger and larger over time. So typically, we move from this place of not knowing, the sense of, I don't have a gay male identity yet. I don't know that I'm gay. I don't know. I'm just living my life. And one might think, well, of course you hit puberty and you know. Not always. Sometimes we get really, really good at denial and repression, and I have known cases and known friends that did not really come out to themselves until they were 60. So, and I've also had friends that said, I knew at 5. So there are no guarantees of when that happens. It's when one, once again, recognizes I'm sexually attracted to someone of the same sex. So once one knows and they begin to recognize that this is true for them and that there's a gay self somewhere in there, two things can happen. Avoid and run and go back to the denial, or I'm going to have to explore this. Okay, this might be my truth. What might this be? And while you're exploring, there still may be some very negative feelings about it. There may be some very positive feelings about it. One tends to move through that exploration and they begin to slowly move into acceptance by first starting with tolerance. Tolerance does not mean desirable. Tolerance means this might be my truth. I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to stomach it for a while and see what happens. It is not uncommon during this period for someone to say, I'm gay, but I'm not that gay, almost making another continuum of what is unhealthy or unattractive as far as being gay in the gay male community. Eventually, through further experience and exposure of the gay male community, we begin to find things that we like, and we begin to accept this is my truth. I'm a part of this community, and this community is a part of me. So one's identity becomes more accepting. Now, this isn't the step of true acceptance quite yet. It's really a movement into, I know that this is my truth, but there's still a level of integration that has yet to occur. What often happens, we see this actually in racial identity models as well. We see an immersion into the gay male community, basically throwing oneself all the way in. So one may identify totally with everything in the gay male community, and then begin actually to ostracize things that aren't normative in that community. So there may be things that are heterosexual, things that are not about being a gay male can get pushed to the side because of that immersion. And what we hopefully eventually work towards is integrating the components of identity, which means I'm a gay male, there are parts of the dominant culture I like, there's parts of my minority culture that I like, and I can put those together in a way that's in a very healthy, integrated place for me. So, in thinking about identity development, I'm going to jump forward now to prejudice and discrimination, because certainly, as I was saying, that has an impact on one's identity development. On the international level, what we can find is that it can be public policy for you to be beaten, to be ostracized, to be hung in the town square for being gay. Some of the countries we might see this in, and we have seen this in, is like places in the Middle East like Iran, parts of the Caribbean like Jamaica, parts of Africa like Somalia. And often we tend to associate that kind of behavior to third world countries as if it doesn't happen here, and that would be a mistake, because even though it may not be in public policy, we certainly have found ways to condone harm and damage to gay males. For instance, for a while, it took a long time for us to begin to add elements into the hate crime laws that say sexual orientation are a part of that. When we talk about the assassination of San Francisco Supervisor Harvey Milk, one of the defenses that came out of that is the Twinkie defense, which is basically this: I ate a whole bunch of Twinkies, I was stressed, I was tired, the sugar and the chemicals made me do it. Now we're seeing a new legal defense that has had precedence and worked: gay panic. I didn't know that that person was gay, and I was so shocked it made me harm them. And so without making it public policy, we still send the message that it might be okay and that legally you can have at least a lesser sentence if you can utilize one of these defenses.